Hello, I'm Jerry Hancock for Men in Balance with another one-on-one discussion. Today we're going to talk about careers, and the reason that's important is because it's one of the 7 or so items that we focus on in Men in Balance, things that typically trip guys up and maybe cause them to have some difficulty in relationships or in navigating their own personal life. We all know that a career is very important. I mean, that's the purpose in our life, isn't it? To do well by our family and to have a good career and to be proud of ourselves for the accomplishments that we made and hopefully move up in the organization and become someone that's has some stature in the community. All those things really matter, and certainly career is about the most important thing and about the most important decision that you have to make as a young man finishing college or finishing high school or whatever situation you find yourself in. But I want to give you some ways to look at career today that maybe you hadn't thought about as we have this sort of one-on-one discussion. First of all, maybe we over-focus on career. Maybe we put too much focus on that. I'm wondering, for example, if, in the survey that we did for Men in Balance, we asked guys, have you ever given up a promotion or a raise in order to spend more time with your family? That was a question that was almost laughable in some cases because almost nobody does that. Nobody gives up career possibilities or advancement to do family stuff, and yet think about the consequences of that. Maybe you took a job that involves a lot of traveling or a lot of extra hours at the office. Maybe you really enjoy that job. Maybe you forget about the time. You just work because you enjoy it, and it's exciting. It has a lot of challenges and a lot of rewards for doing it, and they pay you well. I mean, they give you good compensation for your time. But I'm asking you to think about what you're giving up in order to do that. Your wife has certain needs, your family has certain needs, your parents have needs, the community has needs, and I want to point out this to you. There's an opportunity for you to give of yourself back to the rest of the world, which you may not have time to do if you're totally focused on career. So as you look at career, I'm only asking you to do one thing. Put it in balance. Don't just assume that whatever's demanded of you on the career side of things is the way things has to be. Certainly that's an important part of your life, and I would never ask you to give that up. But I do ask you to put that in perspective and to think about what is the cost of staying late at the office? What is the cost of taking so many trips on the road and being away from the family? What is the cost of missing ball games or soccer games or birthday parties or events with the family or vacations even? What is the cost of that to you, not just in terms of your relationship with the family and the spouse and all that, but what's the cost to you personally? I mean, there are a lot of folks who end up late in their career with health issues and psychological issues and other issues purely because they overdid it in their career or focused on career at the expense of health or well-being or the other things that really matter in life. So as you think about career, think about this. It is important. It is sort of a milestone, a way of measuring your success in the world. It's a way of looking at things from a perspective of what's important to your family and what's important to you as a provider. But here's the thing. It can also be a treadmill. It can be a rat race. It can be something that leads you down a path that you don't want to go. For example, maybe you think the family is expecting an ever-increasing standard of living. And the only way to give that, of course, is to work harder, seek out more promotions, higher salary, and all of that. But guess what? That takes you away from the very family that you're supposed to be taking care of and supporting. So if they ask you for these things, maybe they're willing to negotiate on them. And maybe you could negotiate on some of the demands of the office. For example, your boss says, hey, I need you to take this trip next week, and it interferes with a planned vacation or an event you had scheduled with one of the children or whatever. Maybe you could move that date. Maybe you could change it around. Maybe you could make some adjustments. But if you don't ask, you'll never know. And all I'm asking you to do is put the career in its proper perspective so that family and personal life and health and all those other things that do matter in life have a chance to show up and be satisfied. And there's one other little thing I'd like to bring up at this point, and that is your spiritual life. One of the things that tends to suffer when we spend so much time on career is our spiritual life. And of course, Men in Balance's whole idea is to help men in their spiritual walk. Well, if you aren't going to church, if you aren't studying scriptures, or if you aren't meditating or doing something to connect yourself with the rest of the world, you might not have much of a spiritual life. And that will come back to haunt you. Take my word for it. It will come back to haunt you in ways that you least expect. So I would ask you to think about the fact that this is a side of you that needs nourishment and it needs attention. You know, you see a lot of guys who derail their career at midlife or have a midlife crisis, as we call it, because they just can't do it anymore. It's more than they can muster. It seems to be an impossible request. But many times what that is your spiritual side saying, hey, pay attention to me. There's something here that you need to listen to, and it's as important as your career, it's as important as all the other things that you are focusing your time on. So I would ask you not to give away this important part of yourself. Put career in its proper perspective. Take advantage of the opportunity to be with your children while they're young, and still make a healthy living and do the things that matter. And if it becomes impossible for you to do that in the job that you're now working in, maybe you should look around for other possibilities. Many guys have done this. They've decided either late in life or at some point that things are more important than just making another dollar, and so I'm going to spend that time in a way that matters to myself and my family. Anyway, that's some things to think about. One-on-one with you. I'm Jerry Hancock from Men in Balance, and I want to point out a couple of things to you. There's a website, meninbalance.org, in which we can find all sorts of resources, free books, and articles, and interviews with other people who have gone through some of this stuff. And there's also a little radio station, meninbalance.org/radio is the way to find that. You can listen to it while you work, while you drive, or whatever you want to do, and it gives you some good inspiration and some things to think about in your life as a man. Once again, thanks for watching. Hope you have a good day.